What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast, episode 148. Hope everybody out there is having a good week. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Hit some sponsors before we get started here. Local 18, Heat and Frost Insulators out of Indianapolis. If you have interest, a career in the building trades, look up insulators.org. But I'm going to jump right into the episode today. It's not often that you get to talk to, one of your childhood heroes as far as when it comes to turkey hunting. Got to talk to him last fall when it comes to deer hunting. But old sad daddy himself, Phillip Vanderpool, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm just glad to be here hanging in there like a hair on a lollipop, brother. I'm all yours.
Well, I appreciate you coming on again, man. I had a blast with talking deer hunting with you last fall. I can only imagine what we're going to get into today, talking some turkey.
Well, I tell you, turkey hunting is, deer hunting is one of those situations where you take it so serious. I mean, you don't want very many people around you at all when you're deer hunting, especially trying to shoot a big old mature buck. But now, when it comes to turkey hunting, man, to me it's so fun, and it's the best way in the world I know to introduce somebody to the sport of hunting. And you take a kid on their very first hunt, or a special needs kid or a wounded warrior or something like that, and just to be a part of that, whether I don't have to shoot a turkey to get the best out of the hunt. In other words, what it does for my heart and soul, if you will. It's just watching somebody else enjoy what you love to do. And when that turkey gobbles and spits and drums, or a hen yelps and cuts, and you get to become the hunted. If you think about it, they're hunting you because you're making those calls to them. There is nothing like it, and that's what I love about turkey hunting, because you can share it and enjoy it with your friends and your family, and make a difference in getting somebody hooked on hunting.
Absolutely. That's what got me hooked into the outdoors. I was a really big athlete in high school and growing up, and I always chose those sports over going hunting with my dad. And
Sure.
Finally they said, hey, they had never turkey hunted either. They had deer hunted for 20 plus years before I got into it. And they're like, hey, we had some property down in Kentucky. Let's go down there and let's check it out. We had nobody knew what they were doing. Let's just say that.
Right.
We got in there, and I shot a Jake in the first 30 minutes of me ever hunting anything, and it hooked me for life. And I get that question a lot. What do you like better, deer or turkey hunting? It's such a hard question, but if I had to say anything, I'd probably say turkey hunting because I love it so much, man.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you how I feel about it. It's whatever season's in, that's the one I enjoy the most right then anyway. So, being blessed to be able to do both. And my goodness, last year was just an incredible year for me behind the camera. I mean, you got to think. I start in March and run all the way. My last gobbler that I shot after everybody else took their turkeys was in Michigan on June the 7th. The last hour of the hunt on June 7th. And Billy Yargis was sitting right beside me when I shot my gobbler. And I tell you, I don't know how to describe it. As much as I've done this, and as many turkeys as I've called in for other people and videoed their hunts and stuff, it's just turkey hunting is the reason I got in, really more so than deer hunting, as far as the videography and the photos and doing the show and getting involved in the outdoors through TV and all through webcam as well.
Yeah.
I mean, turkey hunting was a huge part of that for me. That's when I started videoing first and going out and doing my own thing. It was turkeys. I mean, I have to say, and I have been blessed. I do a lot of, especially not as much now as I did before, but bow hunting turkeys was such a huge deal for me. And I have been blessed to take a lot of turkeys. I shot a gobbler in Kansas last year, self-videoed the hunt, and I believe it's one of the best hunts I've ever done. I shot the gobbler at 6 yards. The hunt was over with in 30 minutes. It was just so special, and done it all self-video. And I ran 4 cameras on it, caught the action on all of them. it means a lot to me, and I've got to always do at least one or two hunts now in
Hmm.
the spring with my bow. But since since the introduction of the 410, I'm using the Apex, the Ninja loads that they do for Woodhaven, and
Hmm.
I tell you, it has been a game changer. I mean, my wife and I love it because we can go out and do it. Rhonda and I can go out and do it together, and we can take the grandkids now, or whatever we want to do, or other kids, or nieces and nephews. Uh, Man, I tell you, it's been a game changer too with that little 410. I was able to take 8 different youth hunters last year in Kansas alone to get their first turkeys, and it's just, of course, Donovan working there with Triple H Outfitters and stuff. He's so good to let me take these kids out and do my own thing with them and
Hmm.
video their hunts. And oh, it's so special. I don't know how else to say it. It's just, it just warms my heart and soothes my soul. It's just a way to give back that the good Lord has given me this platform to do, and I'm blessed to be able to do it.
When you bow hunt turkeys, this made me think of a question that I
Sure.
actually had later on. What broadhead are you going with? Are you going for a big cut, headshot? What are you doing?
Well, to be honest with you, I've shot them with about every kind of head, including the decap where you shoot their heads completely off. I
Hmm.
tell you, I thought that was just going to be the next big thing for me, but I'll tell you, the thing is, when you shoot one's head off, he don't look very good in the photos and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I guess my thoughts are now with that little 410 with those ninja loads that they're such small pellets. So now when I shoot them even up close, yeah, they gonna get. I mean, they get peppered, but it don't just blow their heads completely off. You know what I'm saying? But
right,
they get the gist of it, and I love to shoot them at 10, 8, 10 steps, even sometimes closer. But
right,
uh, broadheads, I like a 2-inch cut is a really good cut, two blade, and I don't have to shoot a lot of poundage that way. I
right.
can hold if I want to. I usually back my bow off, and I ain't usually shooting much over 50 pounds on turkeys anymore.
Hmm.
Because if you do get caught in the situation, I'm shooting that little 24-inch gearhead bow. I can
Yeah.
set flat on the ground, and them things, it's amazing how they shoot. I hunt with it pretty much exclusively now,
Hmm.
with a bow as far as that goes. But it's lightweight, and you can just pull it back, and you don't even hear it hardly go off. And you shoot a turkey there, they don't even know what happened. If you got another hunter with you and you want to back up, let's say they want to either shoot one with a bow there, or maybe they got a little 410 or a shotgun, and you want somebody else to, because especially early season, them gobblers are usually running in, 2 to 3, 4, 5 gobblers sometimes come in together, especially those 2-year-olds. And they're the
Right.
best time to hunt because they gobble good and they play the game. So it's just amazing. You just like the one I shot this last spring there in Kansas. And man, I'm telling you, I've been blessed to take a bunch of turkeys with a bow, and I've done it every way you can, like with ground blinds. A lot of people say, "Oh, ground blinds are cheating." Well, on a
Right.
rainy day or a windy day, and you want to be comfortable, hey, I'm 60. I'll be 66 in April now. And I've been, like I say, I've been doing this a long time, and I've tried everything you can. Now, right, this last year, I did not use, well, last couple of years, I'm just showing people, oh, I've had comments, well, Phillip, you shot a lot of turkeys with a bow, but why do you continue to do it with a ground blind? Well, the ground blind really started taking place with me because I was taking kids and taking special needs, whether it be a wounded veteran or taking my wife, who is also disabled basically because of her back. Matter of fact, she's had just done her fourth extensive back surgery, and she's in right now. She's in rehab there and will be for the next 2 or 3 weeks. It was pretty major, but by taking her, it gives you. Here's the thing I love about ground blinds. If you're introducing a kid or someone new to the sport of turkey hunting or deer hunting, whatever kind of hunting, a ground blind, it allows you to talk to them a little bit, to cut up and make it fun.
Hmm.
I've always said there's three major ingredients, really, that make up hunting. And first, you want to entertain them, okay? You want to inspire them and you want to educate them. It's a perfect way to do that in a ground blind. So when I get a kid in a ground blind with me sitting over there, I hand them that turkey call and let them learn how to. It's a good way to start teaching them how to call. So hand them a slate call or a box call, and I try to keep it entertaining for them so they don't get bored. A ground blind also helps keep them from getting too cold in situations, or if it's real windy, keeping the wind off of. If it's rainy, now that's what I would suggest to do to a first-time hunter. Now, don't get me wrong. The last couple of years bow hunting, I've set against just to show people, hey, the old man still got it, if you will. You've heard the expression, don't let the old man in. Well, I'm not going to let the old man in as long as I can keep from it, okay? But I've actually self-videoed setting up against a tree, right off the ground, setting right off the ground, and putting my DSD decoys out there, setting them up, and bringing and yelping the turkeys right to me and shooting them with a bow. And there ain't nothing there other than me and the turkeys. Now, sometimes it can be hard to get drawn, but there again, that's where that little short gear head comes in. I can just pull it back. I don't have to worry about hitting the ground with the limbs or the cam, bumping anything. And it's just worked out. And I've had two of the best hunts the last couple of years by doing that. And I'm doing everything. I'm running multiple cameras, and the hunts. I'm going to pat myself a little bit on the back, but the hunts are phenomenal for self video and bow hunts, and that's the ultimate. And anymore, I kind of hate the fact that a lot of guys have this I or me attitude, if you will. Let's you know, guys for me paved the way before me. When I got into this, we didn't have all this where you could Google everything to see what's going on. How I learned to turkey hunt, and this is the truth. Nobody around here I knew here in Arkansas when I started this back around the 1980, there was only a handful of turkey hunters that I even knew about, and they didn't tell you nothing. It was the best kept secret. So I didn't learn from anybody else. I got Ben Rogers Lee cassette tapes, and that's why I listened to, because I had a boy that worked with me when I worked at Consumers Market. I think it was 1980. And Ricky Rand was his name, and he was the only guy I knew that turkey hunted. And he went out one morning and shot a turkey. I think it was a big old Jake, and he come back in and he showed me that turkey and stuff. He said, "Man, you ought to try this." So, and he said, "I'm not much on calling." He said, "I just get out there and listen to him. I get pretty close to him." And so what I did, I went down to the local sporting goods store, Holt Sporting Goods there, and they had some Ben Rogers Lee cassette tapes, and that's how I learned to turkey hunt. I bought Ben Rogers Lee's calls. I still got the old trough call. I think and listen to this: the mouth calls were made with real lead in the frame instead of aluminum frame. Lead. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I probably got lead poison, didn't even know it. But later on, I actually got to know Ben Rogers Lee and become friends with him as a young guy. And man, that guy could tell some stories. It was unbelievable. But he is the reason. And then later on, I got to listen to the Quaker Boy cassettes there. Paul Butsky is one of my heroes. It got into the calling circuit, and I listened to him, and obviously Dick Kirby. Dick Kirby was, there's so many good guys out there that the guys that made the perfection calls. I can't remember. There was two of them guys, and I listened to their cassettes. I listened to everything I could get information on to learn more about turkey hunting. That's what I did. But Ben Rogers Lee cassettes I was using his call when I shot my very first turkey, and I did it on my own. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I've been hooked ever since. It was a game changer to hear a turkey. there's something about a turkey in the timber, especially, and where I live in the Ozarks, we got a lot of timber. And I was on public land. Obviously, everything I did for years and years and years was done on public land. But a lot of it was from trial and error, and like I say, listening to Ben Lee and both. He would come to Bass Pro in Springfield, Missouri, or he would come to some of the archery shops, and well, I'd make a point of going to see and listen to him doing a seminar and talking about it. And then he got to hunting with my good buddy down here, Steve Cavender, who made Cavender's Greek seasoning. It's still made here. Steve and Ben are both gone now. Both have passed, but he would come down and hunt with Steve. And so that was a huge part of me. I never got to hunt with him, but those cassette tapes were, a matter of fact, I'm sure I still got them down there in some of my old turkey hunting.
How did that pave the way for you getting into the outdoor space? You said you kind of got into the filming turkeys really before anything else. How did that pave that way?
Okay, and what I ended up doing, I got a job as a salesman, and then eventually became sales manager for Curtis Mathis Electronics here in my hometown, and that was early. And matter of fact, I can't even remember. It may have been in the late 70s when I started, come to think of it, because the first camera that I ever took out, I rented it. It was an old VHS top loader that you had straps that you mounted on your back here and put a VHS tape in, slid it in from the top, closed it. The camera plugged into it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so it was a two-piece unit. And have you heard of the Feather Flex decoys, the old little foam? Okay, that's when I started. When they first come out, I was taking them out and setting them up. And I would go out before season. I'd go out on public land and I'd set those things up. And I would call. And that's, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, it helped me a lot because now I could hear the turkeys. A lot of times I'd have hens come in and I'd film them. Now, the footage on some of this wasn't probably the greatest in the world, but it was good enough to let me see what was going on and how they reacted to them decoys. And I've got some old vintage VHS footage of them gobblers just wallowing that darn Feather Flex Jake and hen decoys. And it really taught me a lot. I could watch them and listen to all the different soft sounds that they were making, how they would cluck and purr and stuff. And I started trying to mimic that stuff. Mm-hmm. And boy, I don't know. It just, I'll never forget too that once I started learning this, and I thought, boy, I've got this down, man. I mean, once I shot my first turkey, buddy, I thought, man, I'm going to take some of my best buddies and my old Army buddy and high school buddy, best friend, Homer Kilgore. He had been in the Army. He had been stationed in Germany. He'd come back. And, of course, we'd deer hunted together all of our lives. And we kids, we'd go deer hunting. Well, I got him into turkey hunting, and I'll never forget it. On our first turkey hunt, it had been raining, storming all that morning, so we couldn't go out. It was lightning and stuff. I told him, I said, "Just have patience, buddy. If as soon as it quits raining and this breaks, and if that sun pops out, I think we can get on the turkey." And then, buddy, it's just like heaven sent. We got out there, and I called up two longbeards, and they were both of them had paintbrushes, and they were coming gobbling all the way. And this, like I say, is the first turkey hunt. And they're coming, and they get right up there, and they switch places. And in the way I had it set up is he takes the first shot, and then I'll take the second shot if I get the opportunity. If not, no big deal. I'm gonna get him hooked on this turkey hunt. And boy, they're coming up through there, and both of them got paintbrushes, and they switch places. So he got first shot, and he was sitting on my left here. He shot the turkey that was on his left, looking at the turkeys. And then when he shot that one, the other one jumped on him, and so I rolled him. But his first turkey on his very first turkey hunt had 4 big old beards, four
Oh
beards.
man.
I mean, and he's got it mounted on his wall right now. The one I shot just had one beard, but it was a big old paintbrush. But what was crazy is I think his turkey weighed 16 something and mine weighed 17 something, probably just 2 year olds.
Hmm.
But I could not get over his turkey had like 11 and a half inch beard, just a long legged rascal, the main beard. And then the other three were just, like 11 and a half. And then I think one was 10 and one was 9 and 8. They were
That's
just
crazy.
really. So I hooked him. And of course, his daughter got hooked and the whole family got hooked turkey hunting. It's just one of those things and that's what I love about turkey hunting is sharing. It's the ultimate to share the outdoors with somebody.
How is the traditions of turkey hunting in Arkansas even to this day?
Well, I'll tell you about where I'm at now. Our turkey population really dwindled. We had 2 or 3 years where they only kill like 7,000 gobblers or turkeys, I should say, statewide. They cut
Wow.
out the fall seasons. Uh, and here where I'm at, we still have a two bird limit. I wish because the rest of the state has a one bird limit. In other words, I wish they would change that up. They have our season, people, and I don't mean this in a bad way because I'd love to see everybody be able to go turkey hunting and shoot a turkey.
Hmm.
But I would love to see our population get back before, and they have shortened the season, but where I'm at, they still have a two bird limit. And what I'm saying there is the guys in the southern part of the state, they get to open up early. They get to shoot their first turkey. Well, guess where they're going to be to shoot their second turkey?
Yep.
So it is not giving our turkeys a chance to get back to where they need to be because with the ice storms and all the predator control and having storms, there's a multiple reasons why our turkey population went to nothing. But I will say this: the last 2 years, we've had really good hatches for a change. Now, with that being said, we're still not anywhere near where we once were, where I could go on public land and just stay on a dirt road. And obviously, I'm here in the Ozarks, so anytime you hit a high knob, you stop, and you get out and listen. I can remember times that I would have a morning where we would drive and just spend that whole morning just stopping, hooting, doing whatever we could to get turkeys to gobble, then go on and try to find then mark kind of where we at. We didn't have what we got now as far as the technology to mark our spots,
Hmm.
you know, but like onyx and things like that.
Right.
But what we would do in them situations is hang an old Coke can up on a limb or pile 3 or 4 rocks over in the area there, say, okay, this is where we heard them there, 3 or 4 days ago or a week later,
Hmm.
before season opens. But I can remember times on public land that I would literally drive and have 35, 40 gobblers located in a whole morning, rendezvous, if you will.
Hmm.
Just we had, and then of course it got to. I mean, hunter pressure too. And listen, people are educating and killing turkeys unlike they never have before.
Right.
They can get on here and Google and listen to live turkey sounds and you know or just listen to the Grand National Calling Championships and pick up so much. You can. I mean, there's. It's better than ever to be able to educate people on calling turkeys, and you don't have to be the best caller. I've always said if I had to pick one thing that separates the men from the boys, guys that I know can go out and be successful on these old tough, especially these old tough public land gobblers, woodsmanship 100%. If
I
you
agree.
get in between where the turkey's at and where he wants to go, that's half the battle. And once you figure out kind of what turkeys are doing in your area and get them located, because once they split up right now, you may hear a wad of turkeys, here this next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to hear turkeys gobbling. You may hear a group of jakes and longbeards, you may hear 10 or 12. But you go back there when season opens, you may only hear that one or two because they split up, bust up, and that little group goes this way. And that's kind of a Mother Nature's pecking order, if you will, and they'll start splitting up. But right now, here from March on, um, especially the last 2 weeks of March, you can really get out and hear turkeys being vocal, and and seeing where they're at. And that's what I would suggest to do. Get to these high areas where you can listen for a long ways and get a read on them, and then kind of go from there. But don't just settle for one spot. If you've got multiple areas that you can go do this with, or either get permission on, you know, on private land, or if you have to use public areas, you can't you can't locate enough turkeys. I'm telling you, because everybody else may be out there doing the same thing as well. Um, so get as much info as you can to where you're hearing the turkeys. And what those, things change up as things start greening up. North slopes start getting that green and stuff on there. A lot of them north slopes is where you'll find them turkeys earlier. Then they start dropping off down in towards the creeks. Things start greening up, and tadpoles and stuff like that. Frogs start having turkeys love tadpoles, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But it's, I mean, everybody thinks more of a food plot or a field, and that's great. But where I'm at here, there's a lot of timber. So, and miles and miles and miles of it. And your mass crops, we had one of the best mass crops I've seen in my lifetime this last year everywhere I've been. It doesn't matter whether it be in Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, or here in Arkansas. We had our best mass crop that I've seen overall in many a year, and that's going to help. That's going to help the gobbling tremendously. One thing I've learned: when you have a healthy turkey population, and then they have lots of food sources to choose from, they gobble better. The gobbling activity is going to be a lot better. So the public land this year in Arkansas overall is going to be really good here in my area, I think, just because we had such a major mass crop.
And it's wild when it reminded me of something when you said timber, like it's wild going. I'm sure for you, because you get to see multiple states each year, and so do I. But like going from a place like you said, Michigan earlier, where I go in Michigan is a lot of field birds, and then
Yes.
like in West Virginia and Tennessee, when I go on them timber birds,
Yep.
man, you got to flip a switch because them
Yep.
old timber birds will put a whooping on you quick.
One of the best. I go down there, Woodhaven crew, every year we go to Mississippi, and we go down there and hunt with our buddy Bo Mayo. Oh, Bo's a card man. He's a good Christian man, but he, man, he is wired. I'm talking about, I mean, but we go down there, and he loves to take us into the swamps when we go down there. And I don't know what it is. I will say this, though. There is something about the way turkeys gobble in the swamp that is unmatched. I don't know if it's the way it echoes or what, but it just blows me away at how cool they sound in the swamp.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite hunts because I love to listen to them gobble and put on a show before they get to you. I look forward. See, that opens up here. We'll be down there hunting the 15th of March. I don't know. Isaac's planning on going. I don't know if Mike will. Hopefully, he'll get to go. But man, he just had a 4 bypass heart surgery back
Oh
about
wow.
a little over 3 months ago. He 4 bypass. He's still recovering. I don't know how much he's going to get to hunt. I know he'll hunt Alabama because you can right there where he lives you can shoot
Yeah.
four. So he probably just hunting his backyard there, and he's got some good public ground there to hunt on.
Yeah,
Lots of it,
I
and he
had
knows it
I
because
had
he's cut his teeth on it.
Isaac was actually my previous guest, the episode before
Oh,
you, and he talked about going to, I believe he starts in South Florida this
yeah,
coming
yep,
weekend, and then he
yep.
talked about being in Mississippi or whatever it was in the 14th. So that young man is one of the nicest people I've ever talked to, and I feel like I could call him right now and he would pick up the phone.
I tell you about Isaac. Talk about somebody that's making a difference with the good Lord. I mean, the
Hmm.
way he makes these posts and how God is working in him, it's amazing. I've watched him go from a boy to a man just like that, and it's just amazing how far he has came along. He is a true inspiration to me, and I got a text just a couple days ago, and he said, "Man," he said, "we got to do some hunts together. I can't wait. I want to hunt with you." And it makes me feel so good because hey, I'm the old guy, and it's hard for me to keep up with them boys carrying all that camera equipment stuff. But I spent a lot of time with Isaac last year. We in Old Mexico, we went down to J. Scott Outdoors, and boy, it just seemed like everybody I went with got their turkeys just and the video has just been off the charts.
Yeah.
And Isaac shot both of his gobblers with me this last spring. But I'm gonna tell you a story that really touched my heart. We had just worked this gobbler. It took a while to get him in. He was so henned up, but Isaac worked his magic on the Woodhaven calls and brought him in. And we just the footage is just awesome, and stuff. And as soon as he shot his turkey, he looked at me, and I wasn't going to do any hunting. That was, I was just going to run camera for him this go around.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked over at me and he said, "Hey, I'd like for you to shoot my second turkey." I looked at him. I kind of got choked up, to be honest with you. I sat there, and here's a 18-year-old kid saying, "Hey, I want you to shoot you now it's your turn." And I looked at him. I said, "Isaac, I can't tell you what that means to me." But I said, "No, buddy. I have shot my share of turkeys. This is your moment to shine."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I want to be the guy to video your second hunt as well." And I said, "It means just as much to me because, listen, I'm running these cameras and I've got to be getting this stuff down pat." And I said, when I'm shooting a turkey with my camera, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, we're doing it together. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
just don't have to burn my tag on it.
Yeah.
But it meant the world to me that he even offered to say, "Hey, why don't you let me get behind the camera and I'll let you shoot an old sad daddy," and I thought that was just pretty cool. But
Absolutely. That's awesome.
him and Billy Argus are going down to Florida to hunt this weekend. Billy and I texted earlier there and stuff. And unfortunately, I couldn't go because I've got to be with the Woodhaven crew at the Iowa Deer Classic this weekend, which is a huge event.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing deer seminars down there. And boy, I look forward to that because, when I was with Hunter Specialties, I cut my teeth there a lot. There in Des Moines doing the deer seminars and stuff, and met so many good people. And last year I went for the first time. It'd been a while since I'd been, and I had folks come up to me that when they were kids, here I was teaching them how to call turkeys or how to grunt on a grunt call and stuff, and they've got their kids with them now.
That's
It's
awesome.
just like, wow, 20 some odd years ago, it makes you feel old. Yes, it does, but it also humbles you that they still remember the little things that how whatever you done to take the time to show them how to work a box call, how to cut or how to yelp or mouth call or how to grunt or how to hoot on a hoot tube, little things like that. That's what it's the little things that mean the most to me now. I don't have to shoot the biggest deer in the woods. I don't have nothing to prove to nobody.
Right.
I've been there, I've done it. And the thing I'm most proud of is I didn't learn this through the internet. I didn't learn how to call on a cassette tape by listening to Ben Lee and Paul Butchke and Dick Kirby and those guys. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. But and 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 then the rest of it was the woodsmanship, and I got to go back to my daddy for that. We camped out and done our deer hunting in public land. We had an old school bus, and matter of fact, my first longbeard I shot down at what we call Wheeler Point. It's public land. We went back in there. We'd set up camp and stuff. But I went down there by myself in it stormed that morning. It was raining, raining, raining. And I mean, it come a flood. And then when that broke, that was a teaching lesson for me. And I shot my first longbeard down there on that public ground. And I walked miles. There's no hiking trails they had back there. And I walked in there, and it had washed. and rained so much that when you come to a little holler, the water was just noisy going down through there, And I could hear that turkey gobbling, but I could not tell where he was at or how far. And I could hear him gobbling. I thought, where is he at? And I just kept going and kept going. And finally, I got out of the water enough that I could tell that I was in, now I'm starting to. So I just found this old log road, and I'll never forget it. I mean, this one left a mark for me. That turkey took his time, but he was spitting and drumming so much. I literally thought that there was somebody up there on a bulldozer getting. You done it so much, I'd never heard it like that. And of course, I could hear those leaves. He was doing figure eights in those leaves. And it took me for a while, but for him to come around that old log road. And next thing I know, I'm looking down through there. Next thing I know, I look, and there he's in wide open right there. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I used my dad's old 16 gauge 2 3/4
That's awesome.
Remington 1100 to shoot that old gobbler with. But like I say, by myself, and I'll never forget that moment and how that changed me. Now I'd killed 2 or 3 turkeys before that, but they were just what I call super jakes. Now they gobble and stuff and come in, but not like this turkey. I mean, he took his time, and I had that turkey mounted, and that's still one of my favorite memories of all time of how long it took him to come that 20, 30 yards that he came. And I probably, looking back at it, I probably got way too tight on that turkey. But it just happened that the road wound around enough that he couldn't see me where I set up. And I was using a little old Ben Rogers Lee mouth call. And yep, that gobbler in. And I'll tell you what, buddy, I was one happy camper. I had a long walk back. Shoot, I'd walked in there probably from where I parked, I'd say probably a couple miles on that old trail back in there. And you couldn't drive in, you had to walk. And that hunt still, because that's where I shot my first buck on that same ridge on public land. And then not my first deer. I shot my first deer close to home, a doe, but my first buck. And then when I shot my first buck, I actually shot 2. I got that one big one, and then while I was sitting there waiting on Dad and them, because I was by myself, little 11-year-old boy sitting on a rock, and then here come another buck around through there. I just shot him too.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've got a lot of memories on that old Wheeler Point Ridge, and Wheeler Cemetery's out there and stuff. But it's a walk-in area. It's a wilderness area. You have to walk in. But special memories on that ridge.
I got a feeling this is going to be a great story, but I usually save it to the very end, but I can't wait. What's your most memorable bird? Not even a bird you killed or had to have killed, or just maybe one that kicked your teeth in that day or whatever. What's your most memorable bird?
Boy, I have had so many, and it's not the turkeys I shot. I can just tell you that. I've had so many, y'all. I don't know how many kids that I've been blessed to take. I tell you, I look at, I done the kids hunting for a cure in Tennessee, and the kids that I took there was about 3 or 4 of those kids that I took each year, and this is how God works and has a plan for you. Is the easiest way I know to say it. But I can think of 3 different kids in wheelchairs, 4 kids actually, 4 kids that couldn't even pull the trigger with their fingers themselves. They had to have a sip and puff or some type of mechanism to make that gun go off in their wheelchair. Now, don't get me wrong, I had help, but I literally called those turkeys in, and we got it on video, every one of these hunts. And there's about 4 kids that I can just tell you that when I say I saw God today, I truly saw God working. I mean, coming and calling these turkeys for such a long way off, and the kids getting to watch them come all the way in. And a lot of times we'd have to wait because they couldn't get the gun to go off when they wanted to. And I just, and kept trying to make it go off. And I can
Mm-hmm.
think of 4 different occasions that actually happened with kids hunting through a cure. And then that was also where my best hunting buddy, who passed away at 95, had one arm and one eye. I met him at the Arkansas Big Buck Classic in 1990, and we became friends. He won it overall that year and and shot a big buck on public land. And he
Wow.
wanted me to come down and hunt with him. Well, he had never turkey hunted for 27 years. Him and I turkey hunted together, and I got to watch that guy shoot at least 27 gobblers with one eye and one and the opposite eye. So he aimed with his right hand and pulled the trigger with his left.
Wow.
Calvin Walker was his name. But I met him at the Arkansas Big Buck Classic. I won the archery division that year and won it again at the second year later on as well. I was blessed, and then first runner up the year after that. The good Lord blessed me meeting all these good people. But Calvin, he was 95 when he shot his last turkey with me
That's insane.
before he passed, and he became my best friend. And talk about somebody that inspires you.
Mm-hmm.
That man inspired me because when we first started, we didn't have me there. I'll
You're
call her
fine.
back here in just a minute. She's trying to FaceTime me. She's at the hospital.
And
But
I hope
anyway,
everything works out for her, buddy. You
Calvin will.
let her know that. Shit. You're
But
fine, buddy.
I'll just try to wrap this up a little shortly. But the Calvin Walkers and all these kids, these special needs kids over the years, that's my favorite hunts because they have been such a huge inspiration for me. And it's not just about shooting a turkey. It's about me talking to them about Jesus, about handing them a turkey call and cutting up with them and spending quality time in the outdoors and putting a smile on their face, because you got to remember what you and I get to enjoy 365 days a year.
Right.
That may be their most special moment for that whole year, that they got to get out there and do something like that and feel like they got to do something with purpose.
Yeah.
And that's where the good Lord has blessed me in so many ways, because I can't tell you how many kids, first time hunters and stuff, that I've been able to call turkeys up and get their first turkey. And it's the best way I know how to get someone new into the sport of hunting or the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've always said, you take a kid hunting and you'll never have to hunt for your kids. Get them out there early. Don't wait till they're 12 years old either. Even if some states don't allow them to be able to hunt until they're 9 or 10 years old, whatever. It If you can at least get them out there to go with you to experience it. Let them sit and watch you take that first turkey that they can experience, or take a turkey that would be their first experience turkey hunting. Get them out there, get them outdoors as early as you possibly can, and that's the truth. And you'll instill that. My granddaughter Ruby Bell was, I'll never forget it, 2 years old, and I'm up there. I'm just videoing a piece. I've got her all camoed up. I've got game hide, I think. Thought I'm gonna get her. She's wanting to go papa, papa. And she's just learning to talk fairly decent, pretty good out in the wood. And I thought I want to get her out in the woods, and so we took her, or I did. I took her up there, and of course I take a video camera with me everywhere I go, and I'm videoing her, and we're just having a big time. And this is where I learned something she taught me. 2 years old, and we're going through there, and I've got some trail cameras, and I'm checking some trail cameras. I'm putting some new cards in it, and I'm showing her what a trail camera is and stuff. She's trying to help me put the card up in it and stuff like that. And then we get up there, and I had a mineral lick, and it had a bunch of deer tracks around it. And I was showing her, I said, "You see this, honey? This is a deer track." And she's like, "Deer track, Papa, deer track." She's saying it stuff. And Do you know what a roly-poly is? We call them
Yeah,
roly-polies.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, there was a roly-poly on there. And she said, Papa, what's that? And I said, that's a roly-poly. She said, roly-poly. And then there was a granddaddy longlegs crawling through the leaves there. And she said, Papa, what's that? And I said, it's a granddaddy longlegs and stuff. And then she got to asking me all these questions. I thought, man, I am missing the boat. These kids are starving. I mean, here she is, 2 years old. They're starving for knowledge out here. They want to know about the outdoors.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, that's when I get a kid out there to take them on their very first hunt. Uh, and like that, I try to tell them, there's a cardinal, there's a blue jay, that's a crow, let them know all the different sounds and anything like acorn. If I see a tree, I try to show them, okay, that's a white oak. See how that bark is a little whiter than this? Okay, that's a red oak over there. Just little things like that. Uh, Leaves like, okay, this came off a white oak, this came off a red, just different things like that. Anything I can do to keep them occupied, because as well as I do, I mean, their attention span is pretty short then.
Yeah.
So you do everything you can. I'm telling you what, the best thing I ever did is take a slate or a glass call, especially probably a slate call, and just let them show them how to yelp on that thing, or take a box call inside it, to keep them interested. And I'm going to tell you something. Once I get a turkey fired up and I'm calling to him pretty good, he's coming, I'm trying to make him gobble. Okay. I want them kids to hear that gobble. Then that's when I let them call. And I'm going to tell you, if you have a turkey to gobble to their call, you won't never have to worry about them not wanting to go turkey hunting again. I promise.
Right.
Buddy, their eyes get as big as $50. I mean, when they do it, I say, hit him again. See if he, and I'll have them wait just a little bit and say, okay, now yep at him again. Put a little emotion in the call. Man, I'm telling you, it has hooked a many a kids. I love doing it. I don't know how else to say it, but man,
Yeah, I totally understand, and it's funny talking about trade shows and stuff. I spent this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday here at the Expo in Indianapolis, and
yes,
got to encounter countless kids out throughout the weekend. And there was this one kid I can remember. I've seen him a million times because he had a dad or somebody he was with working for Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and he just was running around all over the place. And somebody had gave him a turkey call. So he come by and he's acting like he's big stuff playing it. I said, let me hear what you got, and as the weekend grew, and I gave him tips along the way, he wasn't bad by the end of the weekend. He come by, hey, check this out. I can purr on it. And I'm like, there you go, buddy. Yeah. Like, and like you said, lasting impressions, even at a show like that. That kid, he may not remember me, but some kids do. I get to talk to so many of them. And there's this one kid, I've seen him probably the last 3 years there. And he says, hey, I remember you. I got to show you something. And let me see your phone, Dad. This kid shot like a 191, and he's like 10 years old. I'm like, dude, you just smoked me, buddy.
Well, the thing,
yeah, it's crazy.
It makes it kind of tough. It's like, you shoot one at that early. Don't get me wrong. I'd do the same thing and more than want if the opportunity arose. But now, man, he's got a long time to look to see if he's going to top that one.
That's what I said.
I've done it a long time, and that's hard to do.
And I can remember my neighbor tells a good story. He worked the booth with me this weekend. He said it was the 28th annual of event for this show. He said that him and a buddy were walking around, and we have a big wall of fame, a bunch of deer killed in Indiana or whatever. And this one guy came up to him talking, hey, where's such and such? Yeah, you're over here, talking about this and that. And it ended up being Stan Potts. And he thought that the guys worked at the show. And he was like, well, I'm supposed to be at such and such. And they're like, oh, probably that seminar area down there in the corner. And he didn't even, just like treating people like normal people. And it's just a blast that you kind of mix those two worlds in a show like that. And can be awesome on both accounts.
I get asked all the time, how do I get in the industry, or how do I do this, how do I do that? The main thing I can tell anybody is, first of all, be real, be yourself. Don't try to be something that you're not, and
Mhm.
you're up here and everybody's down here. Be on the
Right.
same level as, hey, and I'm on the same level. I've just only been blessed to be able to do more of it than most people.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that separates me, other than maybe, I guess, my work ethic is, when I set my mind to do something, I'm not saying I'm always accomplished what I set my mind to do, but when I do, I mean, I'm all in.
That's
And
awesome.
I think, in the last, I'm the first guy to get up in the morning, and the last guy to go to bed, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I don't require a lot of sleep anyway, and my mind's always racing to try to do this and do that. But if you start from the ground up, and that's kind of basically what I did to work myself up there, I think that's the best approach. I mean, some people are born with money, or are born in places to where they can do this a lot easier than others, as you well know.
Right.
But for me, I was born poor. I'm gonna die poor, if that makes sense. But the thing is, I don't make money in this hunting industry. I mean, I don't have lots of fancy things. I don't own a lot of big pieces of ground or anything like that.
Mhm.
I've been blessed to meet the right people at the right time, and the good Lord's given me this platform to work with. That's the easiest way I know to say it. Um, my advice to anybody to start out: don't make it all about you. I see so much of this I and me, and I did this and I did this. I guarantee you there's somebody that has helped you along the way. Don't forget who has made a difference, even if it's just a little impact. Don't make it all about yourself. People read through that,
Yeah.
and they don't want to be associated with people like that. I don't. I mean, I want to be associated with somebody that's a team player, and somebody may be better at something than I am, and I'm not afraid to tell somebody else, this guy is something. He's really good. A
Mhm.
lot of people are jealous. Jealousy hurts a lot of things. Negativity and jealousy, man, just go with what you're gifted with. I hear this all the time. Well, if I had this right here, like Lee and Tiffany or Mark and Terry and stuff, well, listen, those guys right there paved the way for a lot of people here, because they have worked hard to get to what they've got. It wasn't all just given to them on a silver platter,
Yeah.
and they still working hard at what they do. I don't envy anybody like that. I'm proud to be able to know that what I'm gifted with is what I've got to work with. Work
Mhm.
with what you're gifted with, and make friends, and other people will help you get there. But don't ever turn your back on them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's the easiest way I know to try to describe this. My goodness, I would never have gotten to where I'm at have I not met the right people. And I've been truly blessed, and I try to pass that on to others. I mean, I can't tell you how many first time camera guys have filmed me on a hunt just because I wanted to try to get their foot in the door, and stuff. And
Yeah.
my videography and my photography is how, mainly videography is how I got into the hunting industry. And nowadays, I probably wouldn't have a chance. There's so much great talent out there. I don't know. My work ethic has always probably helped me as much or more than anything. And uh, kids have it made now compared to what we did when we started out. There's no doubt. Things were a whole lot different. You take a guy now that's never shot a bow, for example. He can get on there YouTube and find about anything he wants, or Google whatever he wants to. And there's so much help out there now that's all fantastic stuff. We didn't have that. We had to learn everything from the ground up. I mean, you know, And I'm
Absolutely.
glad, and I'm glad I got to do that in my era because it makes me appreciate it that much more.
Oh, for sure. And like I mentioned when I opened the show, you and being one of my heroes when it come to turkey hunting, because no, I didn't know anybody that turkey hunted. There's not even turkeys where I live, basically. And picking up one of those VHSs and DVDs back in the day,
Yeah,
and seeing some of that stuff. I
yeah.
mean, you guys were larger than life at a certain point. In my honestly, like, you guys were awesome, and to see how humble that you really are in person, and me knowing you as for the last couple of years or whatever, going back and forth and having you on the show, you guys really are way better than the YouTube generation when it comes to that. I mean, there's so many times where I thought, man, I'd like to meet that person, and I get around them at a show or something like that, and I'm like, not what I thought that was going to be like. You know what I mean? You guys were just so much. You have the charisma, you have the faith, you have the personality, and it all comes together to make you guys. You're a great person, Phillip. I enjoy talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, and thank you for the humble and kind words, man. It means a lot. And I've always said, don't get above your raising. That was just a saying my dad always had, and you know, try to treat people like you'd want to be treated.
Right.
I love the fact that I pull into a gas station and somebody says, "Oh, I know him," and next thing you know, we're starting a conversation. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just thankful that the good Lord has allowed me to meet good people, and like I say, I didn't do all this myself. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people and making those connections, and I've always said, you know, the shows aren't what they probably once were, and the seminars and stuff what they once were back in the day. I know that because everything has gotten saturated. We know
Right.
that because there's so much information out there now that you can get. But I, I'm going to try to start things back going into this year, especially like on my turkey hunts and stuff. I'm going to try to go back to old school. And after maybe I take a gobbler or I don't take a gobbler and I show an encounter or a screw up, if you will, I want to inform and educate people more going back to why this worked and why it didn't work. Different things that hopefully that will educate somebody not to make the same mistake as me, or hey, man, I saw him do it that way and it worked for him, I'm going to try that. But you've got to understand, from me, I had the woodsmanship skills when I got in the industry, and
Mhm.
like I said, I got to thank my daddy for that, for taking me as a young boy. And then I went involved because he wasn't a bow hunter. I learned a lot of that stuff on my own, or being around other guys that shot bows, going to 3D tournaments and different things there. But my camera schools, I never went to school to run video camera. I've learned all that on my own. A lot of that's just been experience. And there again, I would say what has helped me more than anything is being a woodsman or being a hunter first and a videographer second. And then I took the time to learn what the camera is. I know what an f stop and aperture or shutter speed and stuff. I learned all that myself. And being around good people, Pat Reeve and I, when we started back in the day with Hunter Specialties, I picked up a lot from Pat. I hope he picked up a few things from me. But Pat was a huge inspiration to me. So it's people like that I never forgot. As far as hunting skills, Steve Snow, one of the best whitetail hunters ever. I mean, that guy is a killing machine, and I'd put him up against anybody. And being around him has made me. And look, I got the video Stan Potts and Greg Miller and Rick White and Eddie Salter. I mean, especially you're talking turkeys,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Alex Rutledge and Matt Moret and Blake Shelton and Craig Moore. I videoed them all, y'all. I
Yeah.
got to, hey, and speaking of this, one of my highlights last year when Old Mexico is I got to be with my dear friend David Blanton. We've been friends for a long time, but I actually videoed him shooting the most beautiful Gould's turkey that I've ever seen. And I think I posted on my Facebook just a slow mo clip of it the other day. And the crazy thing is, we didn't use decoys on that. And we were faced this way. And before it was all over with, I think I had 4 cameras running on this situation, but luckily I had one on him. And then David has to get down and shoot the turkey past me. Isaac is back there. Isaac called the turkey up for David. And Tyler Jordan is sitting by Isaac. They're back up here. Well, the gobbler comes in from behind us. I have to handhold this SLR, and I'm in the craziest, awkward position ever. And the turkey's going to Isaac, and I'm like, Isaac, you're going to have to quit calling me. He ain't going to be able to shoot the turkey, So I didn't have a call in my mouth. I started yelping with my mouth and luckily turned the turkey, and he started down towards us, and David got down somehow. And like I say, I don't know how we managed to get it on video. And like I say, didn't have a decoy or something, but it's one of the most memorable hunts ever because David was so humble about it, man. I mean, and he's got that turkey mounted already. He's got it back, and it's beautiful. The white on it is just unbelievable. But it's one of my favorite hunts there, just because David and I have been in the industry forever and ever. When we're about the same age, and you just appreciate the little things so much more with age.
Yeah.
And I'm finally grown up. Does that make sense?
How is those Goulds, compared to a Merriam or Rio or Eastern or?
I don't know. I tell you that those turkeys down there, we were only, I don't know, I think it was a 3-day hunt actually there, and there was 13 gobbler tags filled in 3 days.
Wow.
I filmed half of them myself, videoed half of those hunts. And I mean, the way the turkeys down there, it's like they read the script. They spit and they drum and they gobble. They don't have that Eastern sound, obviously. It's, they gobble more like a Merriam probably than anything. But they put on a show, and their bodies are huge. They don't have a heavy, they don't have the weight so much, but their feet is unbelievable. They're twice as big as an Eastern. But them coming in, they just read the script, and they will come in and wear out a decoy. I mean, it's just amazing to watch them work, and that's just beautiful. God, they're so beautiful. I don't know how to describe it, but if anybody could, if you could ever afford to go on, and it's not just a turkey hunt. This is an adventure. This is of a lifetime. I mean, it's we hunted the San Juan Mountains or range down through there. I can't tell you how beautiful that terrain is. It's mountainous, like being in. It's drier climate and stuff, but it's like being in the Rockies in Colorado almost, but it's in old Mexico, and it is. I mean, you are so far back in the. I mean, it's 4 or 5 hour drive from the airport to where you're going hunting.
Wow.
And you're back in the sticks. It's unreal. But it is, I don't know. It's special. I'm supposed to go back again this year. I don't know the way things are down with all this going on. I'm not sure yet how that's going to be, but we're scheduled to go back in May, and I'm actually going to hunt and video again this year on the hunt. And I really look forward to it if we're able to go, because Jay Scott and Phil Kramer, those guys, I'm telling you, are some of the hardest working people you ever seen to get you on a turkey. And plus they video everything. But it's unlike it's allow enough time, and if you can and afford it, you can shoot multiple turkeys. And I would highly suggest to make it a hunt of a lifetime. I mean, it truly is. And those turkeys read the script.
Yeah, it's definitely on my bucket list for turkeys. And have you got to experience the Hawaiian birds yet?
I have not, and I think those are Rios over there.
Yes.
I know Nicole Taylor. She's on our pro staff now, and I know she's going to Hawaii this year, and she's like 21, and she's in these beauty pageants. Stuff, beautiful girl,
Mm-hmm.
but she loves the outdoors, and her faith is good, and she loves the outdoors. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to set her up with a turkey hunt here in Arkansas. She wants to shoot an old Arky turkey, one of these old Ozark Mountain hillbilly gobblers, and
I
I'm going to try to
asked
get her set up for that.
I asked Isaac this, and he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer me on the on when we're recording. But is there a state that's underrated when it comes to turkey hunting?
Underrated?
Underrated. Not maybe not a whole lot of people pay attention to it, but you can just get after them.
Well, I've only hunted it 2 or 3 times, but I've hunted in different areas. That would probably have to be Texas. I tell you what, them turkeys down there, the places I've been fortunate enough to hunt down there. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you an example. We hunted this one area down there. I had a guy never shot a turkey, and he is a wounded warrior, Purple Heart recipient, and he set it up with his good friends for us to go down there and turkey hunt. Well, in Texas, you're allowed to shoot 4, and
Yeah.
they wanted us to shoot turkeys. They wanted them shot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say in a 2.5 day period, there was 4
Feathers
tags
flying.
filled from each one of us, basically. And mine was all with a bow. And a couple of his, believe it or not, the first turkey he ever shot, he shot with a bow.
Nice.
And it just, so I mean, I have to say, from what I've experienced in the States now, though, and I took Rhonda down there, and gosh, we went down there with my good buddy Rob, who passed away with cancer here just 3 or 4 years ago. But we went down there on a special hunt down there. Man, I tell you what, it was awesome. Rhonda got her 2 gobblers there. I didn't even shoot one. I just filmed and called everybody else
Yeah.
turkeys up. It was just truly amazing. But yeah, I'll tell you, I mean, I have to say that the turkeys down there that I've experienced, I mean, they come to a call like it's supposed to.
Hmm.
The ones I've dealt with. But I'm
That's
not
where I'm.
bashful calling. And the Rios and the Merriams and, are probably as far as like the Ghouls and the Rios and Merriams, I don't know that you can call too much myself. I mean, there may be times you can, but Easterns are a little more finicky sometimes, and probably even the Florida Eastern birds, but
Yeah.
the way I look at it, that's why they made turkey calls, and I'm not going to be too bashful. You got to learn to read a turkey.
Yeah.
And I've gotten over the years, I've gotten pretty good about reading whether he's going to play the game or not. I can't tell you, a lot of times I go into an area early that morning and roosted ain't roasted. We both know that.
Absolutely.
And you go into an area and you try to call that turkey and think, oh, I'm going to get it done right there. And he'll gobble to you and stuff, but he's either hand up or he's just playing hard to get or whatever. I just leave that turkey alone. Go try to find another one that will play the game. Come back to him later on in the morning.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times that I went back later in the day and killed that same identical. And he may run over you when you go in there. It's just the mood he's in, but he's either been with it, he's got hens or he's got with other turkeys. It's up in the day now, and afternoon hunts can be spectacular to do that in.
Mm-hmm.
But public land, you're better off going up in later in the morning or in the afternoons to try to shoot when it's all day hunting, of course.
Right.
But I think a lot of times it's just hard to get them off the roost because you've got other hunters to contend with, and half those guys have to either leave to go to work or they get tired of playing the game and they're
Go to
out.
Waffle
They don't have
House.
the patience. Yeah, let's go to Waffle House, eat something. And that's a good thought there. Go to Waffle House, eat something, and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
But what you got to watch about is when you lose your parking spot. You better have a buddy for a backup to come and pick you up and leave your vehicle there.
Well,
Yeah,
Philip,
shoot.
I've had a blast with you, man. I won't take too much of your time. I know you need to get back to the wife and send her wishes from us and get her to get well soon.
Thank you for having me on here, Brett. I really enjoy talking to people here, and love to share a hunt camp with you one of these days, brother. But I
Absolutely.
appreciate what you're doing and keeping our hunting heritage alive. And I can't think of a better way to do it. I kind of wish now I was doing this here, but now there are getting to be so many people doing them.
Yeah,
On
but
the podcast now.
you got to have the personality, and you're the perfect person to have a podcast because your personality is so well, man. I think you would do great for having a show.
Well, there again, thank you for everything, your kind words. And I want to leave you with this, especially with all the listeners out there. I hope each and every one of y'all have a safe and successful hunt this spring. And if you get an opportunity to introduce somebody to our wonderful turkey hunting world, please do so. And we've got to pass this on to our youth and keep this tradition going, because I mean I just can't think of a better way to introduce somebody to the outdoors is, in my opinion, turkey hunting.
I
And
agree.
I'll leave them with the virtue prayer. I hope that's okay to do here. It's just a
Absolutely.
quick prayer that I say for the virtue. You know, we're a Christian based company, and I'm on Carbon TV, and I'm the longest running show on Carbon TV there with the Virtue TV, and I'm do YouTube. I work with Real Tree and stuff, and of course Woodhaven,
Oh yeah.
Woodhaven Custom Calls, and they're the best. I'm the people there from Mike all the way down is just unbelievable. They're just the greatest bunch of people that you could ask for in the hunting industry, and I'm honored and proud to be associated with those guys. But I leave you with the virtue prayer, and it goes like this: Dear Lord, guide our spirits straight and true, so that we may always give the glory to you. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. I can't thank you enough, buddy. Thank you for everybody that's listening in podcast land. If you're still on the YouTube, appreciate that. But we'll be back here again for episode 149. You guys have a good rest of your week. Thank you, Phillip.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.